Okay, I reloaded. So Eddie Hearn did an interview with Fight Hype. It might have been somebody from the UK. You know, if y'all, I'm guessing this is how it works. A lot of these platforms that rely on interviews, they usually pay people for interviews. They get smaller creators or smaller channels, or they, how can I say it? You know, they outsource. They got a gym out in Cali or Denver, wherever. They try to meet people or small content creators there. I don't know how much they pay them for the interview, and they put them on their platform. So interviewing is an art. It's an art. So if you're a good interviewer, ask the questions and all that stuff. So I don't know where they was from, but Dev, Eddie Hearn is tried to clarify what he said about Dev. Oh, we lost money, millions on Dev, and he tried to, and like I said, that you never hear them talk about losing money. Where Eddie will never talk about losing money from his British fighters, but you never hear them talk about losing money on white fighters or non-black fighters. They'll talk about they lost money, or a Cuban don't sell. That's the only fighters that's universally hated more in boxing than black American fighters is Cuban fighters. Any other fighter, Cuban fighters are the most hated fighters in professional sports. You can have a Brad that fight just like a Cuban fighter, and he's the best thing since sliced bread. Katie Taylor don't get knockouts yet. Oh, she's a legend and she gets all this money, and she's the greatest female fighter of all time. But Clarissa Shields, they got a hard time, and it's a different dynamic. But you kind of get what I'm saying, right? But they never talk about they was losing money on Lomachenko. They never talk about, publicly you don't hear promoters saying where Ryan and Barrios tickets was half off and they lost money, or the pay-per-view was trash. The only reason you heard Oscar De La Hoya say Devin and Ryan didn't make money because Devin was associated with it. They only tell you about when black fighters, they lose money on black fighters, or black fighters don't sell, or they born. And watch, if Eddie Hearn no longer gets the opportunity to work with Boots, you're going to hear about how much money they lost fucking with Boots. You heard Bob Arum trash Terrence Crawford for years. We losing so much money on Terrence Crawford. We losing, and I'm just thinking, you losing this much money on Terrence Crawford, why didn't y'all go out of business? But when he left, and then when Shakur left, y'all went out of business for the most part. Y'all had no network. Y'all was doing fights on y'all TV. You never heard them talking about, we lost money on Xander Zayas. No disrespect to nobody, but we lost money on Fury. You ain't never hear them talk about losing money on some of these other guys. And I told y'all, man, they have a distinct hatred for black fighters. And then when you mix the fact that Devin Haney is possibly going over to Zuffa, it get amplified even more. Because Eddie and them hate Zuffa. And I heard Lou DiBella, and I'll talk about what Lou DiBella said too. On Ariel Helwani, he was back on there and talking about if I was there, it would have been. I'll address that in a second. But I'm telling y'all, man, these are the same people that smile in your face. If you Devin, and I know Bill already taught him this, but if you Devin, Raymond Ford, Oshaki Foster, whoever you are, you black in this game, from the African fighters to the Cuban fighters, to I'm not black, I'm Dominican, Papi, whatever. They not your friends, bro. They not your friends. These people are not your friends. No matter, what it is, they don't understand the plight you from. They can come to the ghettos of Philadelphia, the ghettos of Watts to see you fight and eat your mama's fried chicken and fish and catfish and act like they cool with you. It's no different than these college recruiters. They wouldn't be here. They wouldn't stop to put a fire out on you. It was a kid from LSU who when his career got ended from an injury, and they were saying that they never heard from Brian Kelly again, who was the head coach, and I believe they were saying they hadn't heard from anybody from the university. One thing you're gonna learn about just in general, most especially being a black man, but in general with being a man mostly in this country, if you are not providing something, don't nobody want to be near you. And once you understand that you really only gonna get that real unconditional love from your parents, your grandparents, and people in that circle, you'll notice, if you're not useful to your cousins, to your brothers, to your sisters, to your aunties, to your friends, if they can't find use from you, they don't want to be around you. They love or their care or them checking in for you. A lot of times, wives, even children sometimes, it's on the condition that you do something for them. That's it. And this dynamic is no different, than in this sports realm. If you couldn't shoot a jump shot, if you couldn't knock a motherfucker out, if you wasn't as good as you are now, these people, they wouldn't be by your side. They wouldn't be around you. They'd be leeching on the next person. And that's really like the impasse that you go through, when you become, I think that's the realization when most men become men, like real men. Like they really understand, like, it's just you. If you get sick, it's just you. If you down bad, it's just you. Nobody really coming to say, if somebody save you, then that motherfucker a real motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? They real. It's always when you in a casket or you in a compromising position that you can't come back from. What's the one thing you always hear at somebody's funeral? Oh, I wish he would have said something. I wish he would have told me. If he told you, you would have told him, get the fuck out your face. Remember Craig, and I always talk about this shit in some of my videos. Remember Craig and Smokey was about to get, they was asking people for $200. In the 90s, that was a lot of money. $200 or whatever it was, because Big Worm. And everybody like, man, fuck out there, ain't give you no money, get a job, woo, woo, woo. Didn't care nothing about their situation, care nothing about their story. But the minute Worm came and violated and Dub seeing them had them yoppers out there on them, and they thought that Smokey and Craig got smoked, all of a sudden this false sense of concern came. And when you get older, you start to go back and watch movies, or you start to think about TV shows and moments you go through, and you start to have that epiphany when you really transition from being a young man to a man. You understand, bro, everybody got their hand out, but when you in need, like, you holding yourself up. You lucky to have a pops that hold you up. You lucky to have a mother that hold you up, grandparents that look out, and you lucky to have probably 3 other people that really genuinely care about you in life. And some of us don't even have that outside our parents, don't even have one. So yeah, it's a crazy game out here, but you got to understand, you black fighters and a lot of you other fighters, these people, when you with them, you the best thing since sliced bread. When you not with them, they, oh man, fuck him, and nah, Eddie Hearn, I might sue Conor Ben, and what Conor Ben did. It's business. No matter how they make you feel personally, y'all eat fish together, fish and chips, y'all done fuck some hoes together, whatever y'all do, them promoters are not your friend, bro. It's a business. And the minute they minute is not in their favor, for a lot of fighters, they're gonna talk bad about you. 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 So you gotta understand, now he trying to clean it up. Oh, it was just about that. I was just making, nah. You don't talk about how you lost money on AJ. He lost some money on AJ before. He ain't talking about how he lost money on them fucking English muffins. I keep hearing people in the comment section like, well, the Muhammad Ali Act don't apply in the UK, but his operation is in America right now. A lot of the fights he doing, I don't give a fuck about them English muffins he promoting. When Eddie Hearn, when we care about the fights, is Boots fighting, I guess he don't promote Shakur no more. It's American. If I give a fuck about that, Scott Nicholson, give a fucking care about that whole fight. We don't care about that shit over here. But, then Lou DiBella kind of talked about Ariel Helwani about, Oscar and all that. If I was there, I would have got at Peter Khan more. They're trying to do what they're doing in the UFC. So what? So what? You don't care about boxing no more. So what? Oscar De La Hoya, enough been said. Oscar De La Hoya sold the Ring magazine, like he said, to Turkey Al-Sheikh. The guy that's spearheading and funding or behind Zuffa trying to UFC model. Guess what? They're not putting a pistol to the fighter's head and say you have to go into the UFC model. They're not. You can choose Oscar in the traditional way. You can choose this way. If y'all did what y'all supposed to do, it would be no room for. I'm for a change in this situation. If y'all did what y'all supposed to do, and everybody's speaking against this Zuffa operation in Turkey, but everybody took his money involved. Oscar, he said all the promotion should have been there. Bob took the bread. Everybody took the nigga money. Everybody took his money. Now Frank want to sue. Now, Oscar want to talk greasy while still taking his money for the Ryan and Barrio fights, and probably want them to fund the Devin fight. Eddie want to talk greasy. Talking about I would have shined his shoes. Now all of a sudden, Eddie back fucking with Turkey over Anthony Joshua. But still, you want to talk bad about Zuffa. Like, how y'all still sucking this nigga's dick and still talking shit about the dude? Shut the hell up, man. Hit the link in the description. Find me everywhere. Peace.